Welcome back, everyone. Today, we are talking about something a little different, something that might just flip your perspective on what a good job really means. Have you ever noticed that the highest paid remote jobs are often, well, the most boring?
It's so true. Most people only ever talk about the flashy ways to make money online, right? They completely ignore the ones that aren't considered cool or glamorous, which is a huge oversight, I think. Everyone's chasing the next big influencer gig or some super competitive tech role.
Exactly. And the problem with those cool remote jobs? The competition is sky high. You're up against thousands of other talented people. But the less popular, dare I say boring ones? They're almost always hiring because people don't even know they exist, or they just dismiss them out of hand. Think about it. Making millions in the radio control model industry or through stock market investing. Most people would say that sounds incredibly boring, but it pays extremely well.
Absolutely. It's like finding hidden gems, and that's what we're here to do today. We're revealing the top 7 boring but high-paying remote jobs. We're going to rank them in 5 different categories to see which job comes out on top, kind of like a game of top trumps. It's going to be really interesting to see which one takes the crown.
I love the top trumps analogy. So, let's dive right into our first contender. Job number 1 on our list today is a short-form strategist. Now, if you are guilty of a late-night TikTok scroll, or even just binge-watching YouTube Shorts, you probably know more about short-form content than someone with a film degree, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. I'm definitely guilty. And this job is all about spotting those viral moments in long-form videos, maybe a podcast interview, a webinar, or even a YouTube deep dive, and then telling editors exactly what to cut and keep. It's purely strategic, which is brilliant because you don't actually have to create the content yourself, or even be on camera. You just need to have that eye for what makes something pop.
That's the beauty of it. So, let's look at its earning power. Indeed.com puts the salary range for a short-form strategist between $22,000 and $172,000, which is a massive range, but if you're just starting out, a realistic estimate is around $48,000 a year. For our beginner score, this job gets a solid 9 out of 10. You don't have to learn how to edit or film videos, which are huge barriers for many. You just focus on coming up with the best hooks, learning video pacing, and cracking the code for viral videos. That's a skill anyone can develop with enough dedicated observation.
And that's super accessible. For growth potential, we're giving it an 8 out of 10. If you take a more active role in planning videos from scratch, or even better, if you can negotiate view-based bonuses for when videos go viral, which is a real thing, by the way, you can easily take your earnings from that initial $48,000 to well over $100,000. Imagine getting a bonus every time one of your strategically chosen clips blows up. It's a direct correlation to your impact.
That's fantastic leverage. Next up is survivability, meaning how safe the job is from being replaced by AI. And honestly, content strategy is something AI is still incredibly bad at. It can't grasp nuance, cultural context, or the emotional pull of a truly viral moment. So, we're giving this an 8.5 out of 10 for survivability. You're pretty safe there. Finally, the freedom factor for a short-form strategist gets a whopping 9.5 out of 10. Clients care about results, not where you're working from, allowing you to truly live and work anywhere you choose as long as you're hitting those metrics.
A very strong contender right out of the gate. Okay, moving on to job number 2, a customer service coordinator. Now, this one might sound like a typical call center job, but it's actually much more nuanced and modern. Think of this as being the human middleman between AI bots and customers. It's a very specific, high-value role. Indeed.com puts the earning power between $52,000 and $120,000 per year, but a conservative estimate, especially if you're coming in with some prior customer service experience, is around $65,000.
That's a solid starting point. This gets an 8 out of 10 for beginners. You don't need a specific degree, but you do need great communication skills, strong problem-solving abilities, and a whole lot of patience, especially when dealing with both customers and, sometimes, slightly confused AI. But the growth potential, oh my goodness, is a massive 10 out of 10. Think about it. One person managing bots is far more efficient for businesses than hiring 5 or 10 traditional support agents. As companies rely more on AI for first-line support, the person who can step in when the AI fails becomes incredibly valuable, almost like a bot whisperer.
A bot whisperer, I love that. And it's true, when the bots get stuck, that's when you really need a human to smooth things over. For survivability, AI handles the basics of customer service incredibly well these days, answering FAQs, guiding users. But here's the kicker. 69% of UK customers say chatbots still miss tone and frustration. They can't empathize. So while AI does some heavy lifting, that human touch is crucial. We give it a 7.5 out of 10 for survivability. The role evolves, but it doesn't disappear. And for freedom, a 9 out of 10. Once the bots are tuned and handling the bulk of interactions, you can work from home, or a weekend getaway, stepping in only when things truly go sideways and a human needs to intervene. It's quite flexible.
Definitely. That's a great balance. All right, moving on to job number 3, a remote tech specialist. This involves helping small, often older, business owners set up smoother systems with modern tools. Think about all those businesses still using outdated spreadsheets or manual invoicing processes. This role is about bringing them into the 21st century. This typically brings in around $60,000 a year, which is a very respectable salary for the impact you're making.
That's awesome. I know so many small business owners who are just overwhelmed by technology. We rank it a 7 out of 10 for beginners. You don't necessarily need official qualifications, but you absolutely need software confidence and, more importantly, a ton of patience to walk people through new systems step by step. You might help businesses use platforms like Odoo, for example, which has over 45 beginner-friendly apps for sales, invoicing, and project management. It's about simplifying, not complicating.
Exactly, you're bridging a gap, and the growth potential here is a fantastic 9.5 out of 10. Why so high? Because with things like e-invoicing becoming a legal requirement across parts of Europe, these updates are a need, not just a nice-to-have anymore. Businesses have to modernize, and they need someone to hold their hand through the process. It's a growing market driven by regulation and efficiency demands. For survivability, it gets a strong 9 out of 10 because while tools exist, they still need humans to set them up, customize them, and adapt them for each unique business's workflow. AI can't grasp the nuances of how Bob likes to do his accounting. And freedom? Also a 9 out of 10. Most of the work involves initial setup and then occasional check-ins once systems are running smoothly, giving you a lot of flexibility.
That sounds like a very satisfying role, helping people out. Okay, job number 4 is a bit morbid, I'll admit, but incredibly important, a funeral sales specialist. This job helps families plan ahead to protect loved ones from future stress and financial burden. And here's where it gets interesting, the earning power is huge. The average for pre-need sales reps in the US starts around $75,000, but top performers regularly hit $90,000 to over $106,000 a year. It's a niche, but it's a critical one.
It definitely is, and the high earnings reflect the sensitive nature of the work. Beginners get a 7 out of 10 for this role. It requires incredible empathy, confidence, and the ability to navigate very emotional conversations, often more so than official qualifications. You're dealing with people at potentially one of the most vulnerable times in their lives, or helping them plan for that future. The growth potential is a huge 9.5 out of 10, with more deaths than births in most U.S. counties and the average funeral costing between $8,300 and nearly $10,000. Demand for this service is unfortunately rising. People are looking for peace of mind, and this service provides it.
That's a very clear indicator of demand. For survivability, this job gets a perfect 10 out of 10. Technology simply cannot replicate the human connection, the empathy, and the understanding needed to comfort a grieving person or guide them through such a personal decision. AI can't hold someone's hand, figuratively or literally, through this process. Now, freedom is lower at a 6 out of 10. There are more time restrictions, and of course, there's a heavy emotional weight to carry with this type of work. It's not something you can just switch off at the end of the day, so it requires a certain kind of resilience.
A necessary and deeply human role despite the emotional toll. Okay, job number 5 on our list, a statistics validator. This sounds incredibly dry, right? But you get paid to fact-check bold marketing claims so companies do not get sued for false advertising. In today's litigious world, this is huge. Entry-level roles start around $40,000, while experienced validators can make up to $64,000 plus significant bonuses per audit. Imagine preventing a multi-million-dollar lawsuit just by catching a flawed statistic.
Wow, that's a lot of responsibility. This is definitely more skilled, requiring an analytical eye and solid statistical knowledge, so the beginner score is a 6 out of 10. You need to understand data, margins of error, sample sizes, all that good stuff. However, the growth potential is a perfect 10 out of 10 because, as you said, one wrong stat can cost companies millions in lawsuits and reputation damage. The demand for accurate, verifiable data is only going to increase, especially with so much information flying around. Survivability gets an 8.5 out of 10. While AI can process data, it still lacks the understanding of nuance, intent, or the specific legal risk involved in marketing claims. It might flag an anomaly, but a human needs to interpret its significance. Freedom is an 8 out of 10. It's fully online, but there's high pressure not to miss any mistakes, which can be mentally demanding.
Indeed. High stakes, high reward. All right, job number 6, a remote setter. Now, this is a role that's gained a lot of traction in the digital sales space. You slide into DMs, direct messages, ask qualifying questions, see if someone is a good fit for a product or service, and then pass them to a closer who actually seals the deal. You're the initial filter, the opener. You can make between $3,000 and $7,000 a month, which scales up to $84,000 a year if you're consistent. It's all about building rapport.
That's an impressive income for a role that many people don't even realize exists. This gets a beginner score of 9 out of 10 because you aren't being pushy to close deals, and most companies will provide training on their specific product and sales script. You just need to be personable and good at asking the right questions. Growth potential is a strong 9 out of 10, especially through commission-based models. The more quality leads you generate, the more you earn. Survivability is an 8.5 out of 10 since AI again lacks the genuine human connection and trust elements needed to really qualify a lead effectively. It's that personal touch that makes the difference. Freedom is a 7 out of 10 because you are tied to your inbox throughout the day during campaigns. You can't just send a message and walk away for hours. You need to be responsive.
Makes sense. Responsiveness is key for momentum. Our final role, job number 7, is a content risk reviewer. This is another crucial role for online platforms, and these reviewers can make around $80,000 per year. It gets an 8 out of 10 beginner score. If you can catch awkward tones, inappropriate videos, or simply content that violates platform guidelines, you are halfway there. It's about having good judgment and a strong sense of what's acceptable.
And unfortunately, there's no shortage of content to review. The growth potential is a 9 out of 10. Platforms like YouTube learned a very hard lesson after what they called the adpocalypses. Advertisers pulled out because their ads were appearing next to highly inappropriate or harmful content. They need to protect their brand and their advertisers, and human reviewers are essential for that. With over 500 hours of video uploaded every single minute, adding up to 720,000 new hours daily, reviewers are deeply, deeply needed. It's an impossible task for AI alone.
That's an incredible volume of content. So, for survivability, this is a perfect 10 out of 10. Platforms have tried the AI route to moderate content, but it simply isn't up to scratch. It misses context, intent, and cultural nuances, leading them straight back to human moderators. There's just no substitute. Now, freedom for this role is an 8.5 out of 10. While you can work remotely, the content you're asked to review can be highly disturbing, traumatic, or just plain unpleasant, so it definitely takes a mental toll. It's a job that requires significant mental fortitude.
Absolutely, it's a critical job, but not without its challenges. So that rounds out our 7 boring but high-paying remote jobs. We've covered everything from short-form video strategy to essential customer support to even handling the somber but vital task of funeral planning. It really goes to show that boring doesn't mean unrewarding, does it?
Not at all. And it's fascinating to see how each one scored in our top trumps game. If you add up the scores, the short-form strategist came in with 44 out of 50, closely followed by the remote tech specialist at 44 as well. The customer service coordinator was right there at 42.5. Honestly, the takeaway is that these roles offer incredible stability, earning potential, and often more freedom than the flashier jobs people often pursue.
Yeah, it really highlights how valuable some of these overlooked skills are. We would love to know which of these roles stood out to you the most. Was it the high freedom of the short-form strategist, or the perfect survivability of the funeral sales specialist? Drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts. And if you're looking to grow your wealth and discover more unconventional career paths, make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts.
Absolutely. As we wrap up today's episode, we want to leave you with a bit of encouragement from Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters. Whether your work feels flashy or boring, whether you're a content strategist or a statistics validator, your dedication and heart are what truly matter. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.